We're live. It seems to have worked.
Right? Maybe it's just my phone.
It is every single time.
It doesn't like to connect. Anyway, welcome back. It is Book Chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Jen.
And today we're talking about Jade City by Fonda Lee.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about this one, but before we dive in, go ahead and do a synopsis.
Okay, so Janloon is this coast city. It's an Asian-inspired world. And there's two crime families that run the city, so the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan. And gang war breaks out.
Pretty much.
Along with a lot of family politics and how do you deal with your younger sister and what about your young cousin who's having a crisis of identity. So there's a lot of family politics, there's a lot of gang politics, and they are very interrelated. And the siblings have to find a way to work together when, as kids, they would tear each other's hair out. Is that close enough?
I think that was as close as you can do without being so here's exactly what happened.
So,
so I want to say that I really, really liked this book. I love that, mob culture is very much like royal culture, where it's all deception and intrigue is going on.
It's very romantic in books and movies and everything.
Yeah, I don't really want to partake in either one of those in real life. I would not fare well. And obviously the mob side is way more violent than the royalty, although the royalties can be just as bad.
Depends on what angle and what angle the writer takes it when they're writing it. Because some you'll get it. There's more poisoning and cutthroats.
Oh yeah, and the royal stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it also depends, I'm sure, on which kingdom you're looking at and which rulers and how historically accurate are we.
Yeah, but this one there's more up front there's going to be explicit violence.
Lot of death.
Lots of death. We'll get there.
But I still loved it. I don't know how you felt.
I really liked it. I was reading this. I remember when we started doing book chats, I was reading this. And then my focus just frayed like yarn. And I couldn't focus on this book or anything, really. So it was good to come back to it.
Okay, good. I say, how was it when you came back?
No, I really liked it then, and I really liked it now.
Okay.
It's just, the world kind of exploded.
It did. I agree. Did you meet Fonda Lee when she was here a couple years back for the festival? She was delightful.
Her Twitter's delightful.
Yeah. Pretty sure she brought brownies to her book signing at our booth because it was her birthday. And I was like, I wish you would have told me. I would have brought you brownies. You shouldn't have to supply your own treats. But it was really nice, and she was really nice.
Oh, that's
She
cool.
should come back.
The festival in person should come back.
Details. All right. So, do you want to start with writing our characters today?
Let's do writing first.
Okay. I liked the writing.
I
It was
did too.
quick moving. Her action scenes were well plotted. You could easily visualize it happening, as opposed to sometimes some writers get clunky there, and you can't accurately see what's happening.
Yeah.
I didn't think she did that at all. I thought she was very clear on what's happening.
They're very clear. They take enough time to lay out what's happening, but that doesn't slow you down. Of the arm goes here, the hand goes here, the knife goes here. It flows.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you really kind of feel like you're watching a martial art kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, at least. And I really would like to see this as a mini-series.
I was gonna say,
Not a movie, but it needs to be a series.
yeah, because each chapter kind of feels like a TV episode.
Uh-huh.
And it's each one they're longer chapters usually, and then it feels very self-contained, but also it moves the plot along and they flow. But then there's chapters where there's a different point of view, or a shorter. There's one chapter that's a myth or a folktale.
There's several, and I really liked how she wove those into the story.
Yeah.
So you got kind of the backdrop, I guess, of the society and how it was kind of brought about and their beliefs, and I really liked that, and seeing how that played out into the current time.
Yeah, because it's not they talk about religion, but then there's some of the religious beliefs are in the plot, and then culture, just broader cultural things that touchstones that they all have, but then you get them too because you're reading these plots, so then you see how these values underpin this society, and it was really well done. It was really good world building.
Really good world building, but it wasn't even, some books can also fall into that spending too much time on unnecessary detail, and I was sitting here thinking, there was nothing unnecessary in this book. This was a very well put together book, in that everything had a reason for being in it.
It had a lot happens.
And a lot happens. I don't know if this was a debut for her. Do you know?
I think it's an adult debut.
Either way. Yeah, you're right, because she has some YAs now that you said that.
It's like EXO and something Breaker, Zero Breaker? Something like that.
It was just very well plotted and...
Zero Boxer. It was close.
And I thought, initially, I was like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of characters. You need all these characters. You do. I felt like you needed all the characters.
Yeah, you need them.
You really get an overview of what's happening, not just within the Call family, but within the entire Janloon.
Janloon, what did I say earlier? I don't remember.
In the entire city and island. And I liked seeing how all these pieces are coming together to create this war.
There's also a really cool map in the book.
There's a couple, yeah.
Yeah, so it gives you a map of, like, the Isle of Kikon and, like, various cities. And you kind of go to some of them, or, like, that one. And, like, places it references. And then the other map is of the city and how the different districts and neighborhoods are divided into different clan territories.
This was my favorite one.
City maps are so cool.
Because they talk about all the different districts, too, and which ones are neutral, and which ones are controlled by the mountain, and which ones are controlled by No Peak, and what's fought over. And at one point I was like, gosh, it'd be really nice if there's a map. I'm like, I should look. Sure enough, they were smart and put a map in for me. So that I do agree. I liked that a lot.
I just noticed that the foil on the spine of your hardback is green.
Oh yeah,
it's very nice.
It's very pretty.
Because usually they're like silver or something. I'm like, oh,
they match that well.
That one's nice. Okay.
Sort of a tangent, but I would also like to see this as a series, because I think visually this would have been really cool to see. And to, like, see the jade auras and how the auras would bounce off of each other.
Oh, yeah.
And they can, like, feel others' annoyances or whatnot.
It's, like, very strong vibes.
Very strong vibes. Yeah, I just visualize different green tones depending.
Oh, yeah, they do the colored tones in the beginning.
Yeah. And then I thought it would have been really cool to see, I guess we should have mentioned, because I'm not sure you said this, that, you know, in this culture, certain people are genetically more susceptible to use this jade magic.
They can, like, tolerate it. Like, jade is just, like, a magical substance. It can give you power, but some people don't tolerate it well.
Right. So some just don't work with it. But all the green bones?
The Kikonese are, like, naturally innate to, like, tolerating it and being able to harness it.
For the most part. There will be a couple that don't genetically get it. They don't know why. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the green bones.
That's what they get when, like, they get their jade. They become a green bone.
Which is a warrior, yeah.
Yeah.
So when they are doing one of their skills, like whether they're doing extra strength or deflection, like there's like definitely a visual, like, what's, like, trying to think, not force field, but like you can definitely see something popping with them. And I think that would have been really cool in a TV.
Second Thriller's when it, like, like something explodes, but, like, slows down a little bit.
And again, I see, like, green pulsing all the time, because, I don't know, it's jade.
I didn't envision any of that, just kind of like the, like, distortion of, like, ripple of, like, a wave, but not necessarily green tinged.
I don't know why I went green. I just
totally there's lots of jade everywhere.
Full on green because of the cover, I think.
That's valid.
Okay, so good pacing. We really appreciated that. Good writing overall. Do we want to jump in and talk characters?
Yeah, I have a segue for that.
Oh, I love segues.
It's in the writing that it's like we have different point of view characters, but then we'll get very, like, laid out all, like, the politics that are going on, or like Shay or Hilo or Lon, they'll have to consider, like, okay, I have to do this thing, but then there's this going on, and oh my gosh, my grandfather won't like this, and you get all this in, so there's lots of, it's complicated. Like we said, complicated so many times for City of Brass, but, like, both of these did, like, family kind of, like, family politics that also have political ramifications really well in completely different ways.
I thought that as well. Because I remember thinking, gosh, in some ways this is very similar to the dynamics and domestic chaos of City of Gold.
Yeah, because there's, like, a lot going on within the family, and then that kind of, like, drives everything else.
City of Brass. We knew what I meant.
I did because it's Empire of Gold,
right?
And I just went with City of Gold. I'm like,
right, wrong one.
We were terrible with titles for that series.
Yeah. So that's funny that you thought that as well. Shall we start with Lon, the big brother of the Call family?
He's like the oldest brother. He's been groomed to be the pillar. So the pillar is like the head of the clan. Then the horn is their like enforcer. And the weatherman is like the financial advisor, financial head, sort of. So there's three main roles, various people in the Call family and their close luminaries fill those roles. Mm-hmm. So Lon's like the older brother. He's responsible. He's pragmatic. He's
pretty level-headed.
And
all the things you would like to see in your pillar.
Or in your oldest sibling.
Yeah.
Hilo is like the hot-headed middle child. He's Lon's horn.
He's very much the middle child. He's forgotten in so many ways and feels that in so many ways.
Yeah, he's like where Lon is like more reserved and political. Hilo's a bit more hot-headed and like more prone to emotional outbursts.
Definitely more emotional.
Yeah, but like it's emotional in that it gets him into trouble sometimes, but it's also like he's like really tender with his family, and it's like really sweet to
he's
see.
Like a fiercely loyal person.
Yeah.
I actually really like Hilo, and
do too.
We'll come back to all that part, but yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Shay is the youngest and their grandfather's favorite. She was like a bit of a prodigy at school. I think she was like first in her class or something, and then she graduated and left Kikon. She took off her jade and left.
And not only that, she dated a foreigner.
I think like isn't Espenia like white?
It seemed when we visited, it seemed very white,
and it seemed like that's what the implication was. And I was like, oh girl.
Yeah, and just the structure of military that we saw there felt very similar to ours.
It did. Yeah, it definitely felt like American military bases.
But needless to say, she runs off and has to find herself in a totally different way than the boys do.
Yeah, she goes to college in Espenia and dates Gerald, who has a very boring name. I'm sorry, Gerald.
I thought that was perfectly named. He sounded wretched.
Yeah, but then beginning of the story, she comes back, and she's like, I'm going to live without my jade. I'm not into any of this family mob business. I'm going to get a normal job, have a normal life, and that does not go well.
And I will occasionally see my family.
Yes.
That's it.
Very regular appointments where it's chill, there's no politics going on, and oh boy.
And then we have Andon, the adopted son who's a cousin, who's at the academy. He's graduating this year, getting ready to come on board, and Hilo is very much training him to become eventually a fist.
Yeah.
Which is one of his lieutenants, basically.
It's like the horn has the fists, and then the fists have fingers.
That was well named.
Yeah.
Gotta have the fingers to make your fists,
Yeah. There are no arms or shoulders. I was like, how far does this analogy go?
It ended there.
Yeah, it ended there.
Because then we have a horn.
And Andon is mixed race, which I really enjoyed, and his mother has she doesn't handle Jade well, so she had the itches, and it was kind of a very traumatic death, and it's a very traumatic memory for Andon. So that kind of like plagues him.
It was really traumatic what he walked in on as a young child. I mean, I can't even. Yeah, so some people, once they hit a point with their jade, they start to get what they call the itches, and they basically just go mad with too much jade power being put into them, because they pretty much wear it nonstop, and when they take it off, they go through basically a withdrawal. And when they put it back on after not having it, they get kind of a rush, so it's something you can't take lightly.
Yeah. And like, it's not always bad, because some of them, you get adjusted to it, you go through this training, so some people like that's fine, but then others, they don't handle it well, or it's too much at once, or
and it's kind of a hit or miss. You don't know who's going to get the itches and who's not going to get it. You just kind of hope that you trained and gradually introduced it, and you can handle it.
And you don't make bad choices that would precipitate itches. Yeah.
So anyway, Andon has a hard time in the beginning and through a lot of it.
Yeah.
We'll come back to him. I like him a lot.
We'll come back to Andon. Who else is there? So there's Call Sen, so he's the grandfather. He's like
the torch.
The torch. He was this great pillar, like when Kikon was still at war and the clans were like fighting for the country, and
and I thought that was all really interesting backstory to this whole setup for the city. I mean, basically it was like these clans were underground and were kind of frowned upon, except that they basically saved the city
because they were ruled by Shotarian, like Shotarian rule, like imperial rule, and so they like fought that off, and Kikon is now independent, but like their grandfather is part of this other generation, so he has this great legacy, and it's kind of sad to see him like diminished in his old age, and he's like a cantankerous old man who is very hard on his grandchildren.
Yeah, I don't know if he was that hard on them all along. I'm kind of inclined to think to an extent.
Shay was his favorite.
Yeah, Shay got good stuff, but like Hilo doesn't have those memories.
No, Hilo said his grandfather repeatedly beat him.
And then Lon was protected because he was his dad's favorite and the one to take over. So he was a mixed bag, maybe, Granddad.
Granddad makes some choices.
Yeah, definitely makes some choices. Okay.
There's a lot of characters.
We don't need to go through all of them. I think I just mostly wanted to go through the Call family. Because I think that will make more sense as we keep talking. So I'm kind of feeling like from this point we say spoilers. Yeah. Hopefully haven't spoiled. I don't think we said anything else.
Nah, it's not too bad.
So spoilers from here. Go read the book. Come back. I really recommend you read the book.
And the second one and the third one is out coming later this year, so you don't have to wait a long time.
Okay. Maybe not jumping to the end.
Okay.
Or do we want to jump to the end?
Maybe.
No. Okay.
Well, there's a big thing that happens before.
Let's talk about the big thing before that. Let's talk about Lon's death.
Oh my gosh.
No, not that thing?
No, we can talk about that. It's fine. No, I just can't believe he's dead.
Well, nobody. I mean, there was an autopsy that we've been told about.
Yeah.
I feel pretty sure Lon's passed. I think if we're holding on to a mob mentality, if that's what she's using as a back structure of this, I could see this totally being the case. Look at The Godfather.
I can see it, but I can also see like a scenario where that's not true, or where Lon is alive. I mean,
we're gonna find out probably pretty early in book 2.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm like, okay, what else do I have to read and do this month? What can I do?
That's a good point, because that's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Lon gets attacked by this street kid. Well, not street kid. He's just like he's not even in a street gang. I don't even know what. He's just a normal Joe who feels very entitled to Jade.
He's one of the mountain's, like...
He becomes...
sleeper agents, kind of.
One of the mountain's agents. But
or
it's
like
not
indirect
how he started.
agents.
Because when we started, he just was a kid out thieving.
Yeah, and then he runs into the carver. Okay.
And he runs into Lon and Hilo as well, because Lon actually even says, "You again." But anyway, so this kid who's just kind of your average thief that is slowly working his way up through these just normal street gangs, not the clans. Don't get those confused.
Because not everyone has Jade. There's like lots of people that don't, and they're like, some are associated with the clan, and like they're business owners that pay tribute to the clan or something like that, or they're just regular people that live in the city.
Right. Now I will say Barrow is very Jade envious, and his whole intent in life is to figure out how to get himself some Jade and to be able to handle it once he has it.
I realize if you write this book, you can never make a joke about being jaded. It's like, okay.
So he and one of his cohorts are out, and they're supposed to just scare Lon.
Yeah.
But they don't. He thinks, oh, the mountain sent me here to kill them. That's the whole point. We'll just end this now and I'll get my Jade and life will be good. Yeah. So they start following Lon as he leaves his brothel, basically.
Wasn't there like a bounty on Hilo?
They put a whisper out on Hilo, but they ended that pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Which is why Lon got injured, was because he confronted that guy, and then he was channeling into Lon, and Lon deflected out, and it wounded his aura, which wounded him pretty severely at this stage. So this is before going to the brothel, and so he has to take on the Jade, because once you win, you take on that person's Jade, and now he's going through this like terrible, like almost like an overdose from the Jade. So he starts to take the drug SN1. Shine to balance out the effects. But he's not doing a good job of taking this.
And he has to take on the Jade because he has to still look powerful in front of the members of the clan and the mountain, because they're like kind of on the brink of clan war.
We're headed definitely close at this point.
Yeah, and then Lon's trying to like, no, let's not do this because the clan war hurts the entire city.
Yeah.
And then Lon dies, and well...
And, I was surprised. I shouldn't have been, because again, if you think about The Godfather,
I've never seen The Godfather.
Oh my God, go watch The Godfather. Maybe you're not into mob movies.
I don't know. I'm real bad with movies. There's a lot I haven't seen.
They're very good. The Godfather. And the third one, yeah. But anyway. So he dies. Weirdly, he doesn't die from this kid, though, even though the kid thinks he dies from shooting him.
Yeah.
He dies from the overdose of the shine because he took too much because he hadn't been taking his shine correctly. And it basically stopped his heart, is what it appears.
Yeah, and he gets shot a few times. He falls in the bay or the...
Well, he runs to the water because he's overheating.
It's just oh, dude. Oh, poor Lon.
So... at this stage, Hilo is the mountain did it. Even though he...
who else is going to kill my brother?
Kind of knows that maybe isn't totally the story because he has all of his jade. And you know, if a mountain man... Mountain man is not the term I meant.
If a member of the mountain clan had killed Lon, they would have taken his jade, desecrated his body, and
as rightfully
crowed about it. Yeah.
Job. Whatever. They're right. Rightfully
right?
They're right.
Yeah. Is there...
I don't know. Anyway.
Spoils to the victor?
Spoils to the victor. So needless to say, this launched a whole thing. And it was sad because, the family really was set up to be... Did you already say that? Lon is the pillar, Hilo is the horn, and Shay as the weatherman?
That's what they wanted. They wanted Shay to be the weatherman. And, she's good at it.
She's good at it. And that would have been, oh my goodness, they would have been a powerful...
We wouldn't have had a book. They would have taken care of business if it was those three.
Really? Would have.
But yeah, Shay was I don't want this life. And Hilo was kind of come on, you're just fighting the inevitable. What's wrong with you? Put your jade back on. And Lon's he's more accepting of it. He gets it, this is her choice to make. But that he's also I wish you wouldn't choose this. Lon
was also under the impression, I'm going to give you this right now. You just need to work it out, but you're going to come back. I know you're going to come back to me. So I think he was just being patient and waiting. It just was, he didn't have that time.
And then it was his death that makes Shay put her jade back on and agree.
That was awesome.
Be the weatherman. I was so sad when that happened because I was I wanted Shay to be the weatherman so bad. And I'm but I didn't want it this way.
Oh, not with the death.
No,
I agree. But her entrance back into the clan was awesome.
Yeah, so after Lon dies, it's a reprisal. Shay leads some of the fingers or the fists and slaughters a bunch of green bones from the mountain thing. Because it's you just killed our pillar.
You just, we can't let that go unsaid.
Yeah, no.
And it was really cool because she walked into the bank, she opened up her safe deposit, and then she put on all of her jade. And this girl wears a lot of jade. So you knew she was a force to be reckoned with if she could take that much on.
And she hadn't worn it for years.
So that was cool. If you're into that.
And then there's the quiet scene that in the kitchen, the kitchen of their family home, where Shay does her clan vows to Hilo because he's the new pillar now. He's the next sibling, and Shay doesn't want to be pillar. Shay wouldn't be pillar. They discuss that later. She's even less suited to being pillar than Hilo is.
Well, that's according to Hilo.
I don't think Shay would she's better at the political maneuverings of it than Hilo, but I don't think she wants that be the face of it. I think she likes kind of her background role, and the weatherman's kind of the weatherman does what the weatherman does. They lead the clouds.
Really interesting.
I think it suits her, and I think she likes having more of that leeway.
I could totally see her becoming pillar, and I could totally see Hilo going back to being the horn because he's a really awesome horn.
Yeah, which I'm is he gonna stay pillar?
I don't know because nobody else can do it.
Yeah, but it seems no one can do it, but someone has to do it.
Which is why I can see Shay eventually taking it. Not maybe right away.
I don't know if she...
Yeah, but I could see herself finally getting into that I have to do what I have to do for my family mode. Like Lon pretty much was. So I can see her working her way toward. I mean, they're very young. Hilo's only, 29, 28? And she's only 27, 26. So they're very young to be taking these roles on. So they got room to grow.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it's headed.
See where it goes. Because this was very a clan war book. So it made sense for Hilo to be the horn and the pillar.
He can't keep doing that.
He can't keep doing that. But even then it kind of establishes how he grows into being the pillar, and he's not going to be a pillar like Lon.
No.
So I was like, does this mean you're stuck here then? But, like, I don't know if you're going to always be stuck as the pillar.
I don't either. I think right now he's headed in a really good progression for the pillar. Like, he's starting to take other people's advice. He's starting to get the politics, which he despised. He's much more of an action guy.
Yeah.
But again, he was trained to be the horn, which was the action guy.
And he was good. He was very good at it.
Very good at it. And it was interesting at some point when, he comes and kind of roughs Andon up a little bit at the school. Initially, I was like, gosh, this is weird.
I was like, what are you doing?
Right? This is weird brotherly love, because Hilo keeps saying, I think of you as my younger brother. I'm like,
while he, like, throws him over his shoulder.
No, unfortunately, I see that as good training for later, because even Andon said that. Like, I get why he did this. It's not what I would choose for my siblings, but...
You're not growing up in a mob family, as far as I know.
So yeah, needless to say, that really launched the story at this stage. There's so much that happens in this book. I don't know that we want to get stuck down on too much of the smaller stuff. So with that being said, do we just want to jump to the
end
and then come backwards if we need to?
We can. First, like, I don't know. I feel like Wen needs an honorable mention.
Oh yeah,
because like Wen and Shay are both very interesting female characters, and like they're very different.
We should then also talk about Ait Maya.
Oh, Ait Mata.
Mata, thank you.
Yeah, I don't like her, but in the sense that she's trying to kill all the Call siblings.
Agree. However, that aside, she is a fierce
terrifying
leader. Oh, I know, I love it. Like, if she wasn't attacking the Calls, I would love it.
Did you watch The Mandalorian?
I watched parts of The
Okay, so there's a character and it's Bo-Katan, like, who is also terrible, but she's so interesting. I just am like, oh, I hate what you do, but I love to watch you do it.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to Wen.
Yeah. So she's Hilo's girlfriend, and she's not in the Jade. She's a Stone Eye, so she can't, like, she can handle Jade, but it doesn't affect her at all. And she doesn't have a Jade aura, so she's kind of like the blank slate that, like, people can't get a read on her.
Yeah, because she can touch it with no problem.
Yeah, and Stone Eyes are kind of like bad vibes, or like it's a bad superstition that they bring bad luck. And she's very, like, warm, and, like, her love for the people around her that she decides are worth loving is, like, her guiding motivation. And it's just how that, like, plays out. It's really good, because you think she'd be, like, soft and warm and gentle, and, like, she is those things, but it's also, like, the love is not dangerous, but it can be a sword as well as a shield.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so good.
See, I love that you have that reading. I did not, and I'm going to have to take that into book 2, because I totally see where you're coming from. Yeah. I was just skeptical of her. I don't know why. The advice she always gives Hilo, I'm like, whose best interest do you have here? I think you're right. I think once I hit the end, I was like, I misjudged you. Mm-hmm. You are going to be a much more interesting and loyal character than I think I initially thought. I'm excited to see where her arc goes in the next one. Yeah. Based on where we left her.
Yeah.
I think we should also mention that her brothers are Hilo's right-hand men.
Yeah, right and left hand, basically.
Right. So the family is very connected to him, and I'm hoping there's no betrayal. But
we already had one in this book.
It is a gangster book. Yeah, I just want to go back to Ait Mata.
I say Ait.
Ait Mata?
Yeah.
Thank you. She has a really interesting backstory. I mean, she is adopted by at the time, the Pillar of the Mountain. I don't remember
his name either.
He's very minorly mentioned. Anyway, he adopts 3 children that were orphaned from the wars. Mm-hmm. And then raises them up, and she's definitely his favorite. She is quite a prodigy. And except he then doesn't call her out as his heir. Yeah. He picks one of the boys.
That's the whole thing, because she's like...
appease the men.
Yep. And then she kills everyone.
Because dang it, this is my right.
She kills like 5 people to become Pillar or something. Like, definitely her brothers, her dad,
and his 2 top men.
Yeah, or she gets someone else.
Oh, and a son. Someone's son.
And she gets someone to kill someone else for her, so she...
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't see her wearing Jade. She just has, like, it's all upper arms and, like, bangles, but they're, like, tight on her skin. so you don't see it when she's wearing like a long sleeve shirt. So it looks like she doesn't wear jade, but then she has a ton of jade.
And she's smart.
Yeah.
She's been planning this war.
She was the weatherman before she was the pillar. So she like has all the like training to be the pillar that none of the Call siblings have.
Yeah, and her like world outlook and plan was way more thought out.
It's a very long game.
Yeah, I mean the Calls are very focused on the island and nothing else. And she realizes there's a much bigger world out there.
It just occurred to me that, like, Ait was Weatherman before she became Pillar. Like, is Shay gonna follow that?
You see why I thought this?
It just occurred to me. I'm like, oh, wait, there's...
Plus, we had the meeting in the garden, or in the temple between the two. And Shay's like, well, I know what I don't want to become. And I was like, ooh, but this is still foreshadowing for what you're going to become. So, yeah, that's why I see it going that way.
Yeah, I see it now.
And Hilo is an amazing horn. He needs to go back to his calling. So anyway, I find her very interesting.
I see that. Because the horn's not going to stay. Because like someone said the horn, he's an unimaginative soldier. Like your horn needs to be smart.
And his is trying. Ken is trying. Like,
Ken or Kane? I say Kane.
Kane's fine.
Okay.
Kane is trying. Like, but he also didn't have the grooming for this. He didn't anticipate being this person. And they're all doing this in a very stressful, upsetting time. I mean, this war got intense. It got very bloody. We lost some of our favorite warriors and fists, according to the characters.
According to Hilo, yeah. I'm like, well, we don't really know much about him, but Hilo likes them.
Well, there were a few that I was like, these were mentioned earlier. No, I am sad you're dead. There were several of those. I was like, oh, you too? So it got pretty intense. And then we hit the end where basically Hilo is offered an ultimatum.
Yeah, like turn yourself in, you'll get like an honorable death, you'll get buried with your jade, your family can live, and the mountain will like annex Snow Peak. Yeah, those are the big terms. There's other ones, but I forgot them.
Yeah, so Hilo doesn't have a lot of choice here.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at his decision to go for it?
No, I'm like they're like when they were planning something, it was like, oh, I spent a long time talking to Hilo, or they spent a long time talking. I'm like, they planned something.
You mean Andon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They planned something. I don't know what it is, but they planned something.
And you know, it's funny, initially I didn't know how Hilo thought he was going to come out of this alive, but I was like, you got something up your sleeve. But I didn't even think about that conversation aside from he was just preparing Andon for whatever was coming next for him. Like, okay, if something does happen, Shay's going to get you off the island. You're going to be fine. I thought that was the conversation.
Oh, I was like, they're up this. And how they kept planning for his death. I'm like, this is like this feels not heavy-handed in a bad way. That was bad writing. If heavy-handed in a way, I've read too many fantasy novels, and I just know what's going to happen. Like, I'm too suspicious at this point. Like, it's too much looking like Hilo's going to die, and he's not going to die. We already lost one Call sibling. Yeah, we have two more books.
I thought that as well. I just didn't know how he was going to get out of it. And oh my gosh, this was the best way ever.
It was kind of sad, too.
It was really, exactly.
It's like bittersweet, but that's good.
Okay, go ahead and tell him.
So Hilo, like, shows up at this restaurant that the mountain has taken over, and Gaunt Ash is there. He's, like, the mountain's horn, so he would have been Hilo's, like, counterpart. And he's kind of running the street war and winning. So Hilo shows up, and he's like, and he takes Andon with him. And he's like, okay, my young cousin is the witness to make sure you hold to the deals of our agreement. Like, if he gets back to my family safe, they'll know this is all done. So, and Hilo's like, okay, I get my death of consequence. And then he kills 3 of the fists because they try to kill him first. And he's like, okay, Gaunt, like, you have to do this. I want, like, an honorable death. An honorable death and, like, a worthy opponent for it.
For the horn, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So, eventually Hilo is, like, on the ground after being beaten by various people. And then he and Andon have worked out this scheme. So Hilo had a bunch of his jade removed because he had so much he just didn't feel it anymore when you added more.
That's so crazy, yeah.
And they had it on like a strap on his arm so Andon could grab hold of it and Andon could channel, which he was very good at. Which is like, it's like deflecting so much force into an organ or into a body that it kills them. It like explodes your blood vessels and stops your heart.
You know,
it's like,
it really... Okay, I know we talk Six of Crows a lot. You just have to get over that. So it really reminded me of the Heartrenders.
Oh, kind of.
Because I don't think it's the same type, but it kind of, like, they can go in and they can feel the heart pulsing, and then, he basically can explode it.
Yeah, it's, like, the heart stops, and he, like, kills Gaunt this way, and kills some other people this way, and it almost kills Andon.
This scene was incredible.
Yeah, because Andon is, like, very good at this
We
stuff.
saw him demonstrate this on 5 Mouse prior, which there's a lot of animal cruelty, and being as that there was a lot of people cruelty, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was upset about the animals. Evidently, people not so much.
The people maybe know what they're getting into a little bit more. I don't know. He saves Hilo. Yeah.
By doing this.
He does, but it's also, like, bittersweet because Andon's, like, very sensitive to Jade, and so it's, like, almost overwhelming and almost, like, euphoric how he feels, and it, like, freaks him out. So he almost dies, Hilo almost dies, but they don't die. That's the important part.
And we should note, too, that Andon just graduated from the academy.
He hasn't graduated yet. He finished his final exams, but he hasn't graduated
so
yet.
He, at most, is used to having 3 or 4 stones, like small jade stones. And he takes on so much of Hilo's jade that it makes sense why he got this huge rush
of power.
And this amazing, again, I just see this, like, sonic boom motion going outward as he does this. And then he liked it, and that was worrisome for him. He felt the rush of killing and was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. When can I have more of this feeling? When can I do more jade?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this poor kid.
I know, you really feel for him, because as soon as he, like, kind of levels out, which, again, they use that shine to level him out.
Yeah.
The shine that we're not supposed to be making.
Well, it's like that was, like, knockoff shine that they're like, the mountain's, like, exporting, so it's, like, not good quality shine.
Yeah, this is fine for the foreigners. I love that comment.
But, like, the doctor's administering it to him, and, like, it's fine in, like, the controlled doses, but Andon's, like, very wary of it.
Yeah, he's like, it's a poison going through my blood. And he gets pretty upset about all of this, and at graduation, he forsakes all jade.
He won't accept his jade. Yeah, and it's, like, a big embarrassment to the clan, to him, to Hilo, and Hilo's, like, upset about it, but also, like, hurt that his cousin thinks Hilo would turn him into a weapon.
Even though he kind of did.
He kind of did.
And that's kind of what the fist is.
Yeah.
I mean...
fist. Do you think he's gonna make him the horn?
No,
or do you
but
just mean a fist?
I just mean a fist.
Oh, okay.
His whole plan is to make, at this stage, Andon a fist. And that is basically exactly the point of a fist, is you're a weapon for my doing, basically. So I kind of get where he's upset about it. Yeah. And I also get Hilo, who's really upset, like, you saved me, you did all of this, we are going to protect you, we're going to make sure you're okay through all of this process, we just have to do it the right way this time. But he basically just, like, turns his back on Hilo at this stage. It has nothing to do with Hilo, Midas.
Yeah.
It's really, he needs to come to terms with what he wants within himself. Yeah.
And then like, the family's all tied up in the clan politics, so then it's like, you're turning your back on the family, which he's not, but he just wants time.
And, Hilo takes everything so personally. Like, Shay's leaving was a personal attack on Hilo. I both love and hate that part of him, and I'm sure that's how his family feels, because he's a fiercely loyal person, and yet he expects
everyone to be... He's kind of infuriating sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
he expects everyone to be as fiercely loyal as he is. And how dare they not respond the way he responded.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that went on in this book.
Or Shay's, says something, because, like, the mountain at one point is like to Shay, it's like, hey, if you kill your brother, I'll help you out. And Shay's like, no.
You already killed one. Why am I going to go kill the other one for you?
Yeah, and, like, Hilo figures that out. He's like, oh, that's what I would do. And she's like, but you're not mad? He's like, no, you would never do that to me. Or if you would, then, like, I got bigger problems.
Right? It kind of was like, I'm not going to waste my time worrying about that. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it was solid logic, but it's also like, yeah, it's a whole thing.
So, and it was interesting because the mountain like you said, they put the whisper out for Hilo, and instead they killed Lon. I mean, their whole plan backfired with this one kid. I'm calling him a kid because that's really what he is.
He's a punk.
He's a punk kid. And he's still alive.
So's Daru.
We didn't even talk about Daru.
We don't need to talk about Daru.
He is a terrible, 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 terrible man.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to say much more than that. But he's going to play his hand in books,
He's still alive, too.
Yeah, what did you think of that decision by Shay?
to not kill him. I thought, like, because Daru and, like, their grandfather were best friends. So, like, I was like, okay, you have to do this now. You get to take care of your best friend. That's more than you deserve, but, like, they're also trying to take care of the granddad. So I'm like, this was what's best for him.
I mean, it was really nice, because it was the one moment the granddad seemed to come out of his fog and be alive and...
like, have some more lucidity and, like, eat and, like, kind of, like, you know...
be a person.
Yeah, not entirely waste away. So it was sad, but also, like, Daru is gross.
Yeah, it was also, like, Shay.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get why you did it. I don't like it.
And I think this is going to be a pivotal point for her from here on out. Mm-hmm. This weakness, as she's going to view it, I think could really shape her later.
It's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to, like, find him and, like, I don't know, pull out his teeth or something. Like, he deserves it. Just, like...
rip off the nails.
He does... Yeah, no, it's like, okay,
bad.
he doesn't get to live again.
Yeah, no, on so many levels bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to come up. That's
going to come up.
Because he's ran off to the mountain now.
Yep.
With all the family secrets that he was already giving them.
Yeah, so...
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I totally love this book.
It's very good.
Yep, I'm excited to read the second one. It has, it has everything I love. I love all the deception and intrigue. I already said all that, but it's so good. It's so interesting to see how it plays out with people.
I like the sibling relationships. Those are always fun.
It has a great family vibe amongst all the violence. You still have these very warm, touching moments.
Yeah.
And I really am curious how the siblings are going to move from here. I think that Hilo and Shay are becoming a really good team right now. Mm-hmm. Which is good. They need that.
It's funny. It's like they're working together, but then in the background, Shay's just like simmering that her brother's like, that's not the plan. But Hilo makes it work some other way. I think it's exasperating, but they're like fondly exasperated with each other more often than like
when they were younger.
Violently exasperated.
They've always had a very complicated, which we keep saying, relationship, vital relationship maybe. I don't know. They don't get along often. But they're doing better now.
It's like youngest sibling, youngest perfect sibling, and then the middle child. Like, how's that gonna go?
Right? And they don't have their eldest to balance the three out. Yeah, that's being a problem. All right. Any parting thoughts on this book?
I wish I had been more consistent in how I read it. But it was still really enjoyable.
Yeah, it was really, and it was one you could easily sit down and get swept into. And
pick up again, which
was
nice.
That too, yeah. It kind of sticks with you.
Yep, so it's very good.
Yeah, agreed. Highly recommend.
Very, like, emotional and character-driven for, like, a high-octane kind of fantasy novel with a lot of plot.
With a lot of plot? Is that what you say? I agree with all of that. Yep. All right, so next week...
What are you doing next week?
Natasha and I were going to talk about Food Between Friends with Jessie Tyler Ferguson and Julie Tanis. I'm not sure if I said her name right. So yes, we're trying our hand at a cookbook again. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. I will note we're probably going to pre-record this one, so we will not... You won't see it posted the same way, but it will be posted at 3 p.m. on Sunday still next week. So come visit us. And we're also going to put up photos of our baking experience.
Nice.
So that can either go really well or bad. We'll see. I'm not the best chef. Tasha's much better, so be kind to me.
It's just a little informal in how it looks.
Yeah, right.
But it still tastes good.
As they like to say, it's a little more rustic. So tune in next week to see how our cookbook extravaganza goes.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. Bye.